There's a magic number in personal finance, and it's far smaller than you'd think. It's not 100,000, it's not a million, it's $20,000. Because the day your savings cross 20 grand, something genuinely changes, and not just in your bank account. It changes your stress levels, your choices, and honestly, your entire trajectory. Now, here's the sad part. Most New Zealanders never get there. One in three has less than $500 to their name. But the ones who do cross 20,000 describe it almost the same way, like a switch flipping in their head. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what changes when you hit that number and why the first $20,000 is the single most important money you will ever save. Let's get into it. First, let's be honest about the reality most people are living in, because it's this reality that makes 20,000 so powerful. Right now in New Zealand, 44% of people have no emergency fund at all. One in three has under $500 saved. Nearly 40%, around 1.4 million Kiwis, couldn't lay their hands on $5,000 within a week without going into debt. And more than 4 in 10 are living genuinely paycheck to paycheck, with 1 in 5 admitting that if they lost their job, their savings would run out in a single week. This is what life with no buffer actually feels like. Every unexpected bill, a car repair, a vet visit, a broken tooth, isn't an inconvenience, it's a full-blown crisis. You are permanently one bad month away from the edge, and the low-level stress of that never truly switches off. Now here's what changes when you cross 20,000. The first thing that changes is the stress, and this is the big one. When you have $20,000 sitting there, you are no longer one emergency away from disaster. That constant background hum of money anxiety, the thing that wakes people at 3 in the morning, it starts to fade. And this isn't just a nice feeling, it's measurable. Research here in New Zealand found that people who set up an emergency fund are nearly 3 times more likely to feel optimistic and confident about their future. $20,000 is comfortably past the rule of thumb 3 months of expenses that experts recommend as a safety net. So, for the first time, a surprise bill becomes a mild annoyance you pay from your account instead of a catastrophe you put on a credit card. You start sleeping better. That alone is worth more than the money. Think about the difference in a single moment. The car makes a horrible noise, and the mechanic says it'll be $1,200. With no buffer, that sentence ruins your week, maybe your month, and it goes on a card you'll be paying off until spring. With 20,000 in the bank, you just say, okay, book it in, and it's forgotten by lunchtime. Same event, 2 completely different lives. That is what a buffer really buys you. Not luxury, but the ability to shrug off the exact things that keep everyone else awake. The second thing that changes is that you stop making desperate decisions. When you have no cushion, life forces you into expensive corners. You put the car repair on a 19% credit card. You reach for buy now, pay later. You take the payday loan. Every one of those is a small financial wound, and they add up to thousands of dollars in interest and fees over a lifetime. But with 20,000 behind you, you absorb the shock with your own cash. You stop bleeding money to lenders. You stop making panicked, short-term choices that cost you dearly in the long run. Getting off that treadmill of crisis borrowing is, on its own, worth a fortune over the years. The third thing that changes is that you gain something powerful, walk-away power. A buffer isn't just protection, it's leverage. When you've got $20,000, you can walk away from a toxic job instead of being trapped in it. You can wait for a better offer instead of grabbing the first desperate one. You can say no to a bad deal, negotiate harder, or take the risk on a better opportunity. Some people call it having a bit of freedom money, and even at this level, it fundamentally changes your relationship with work and with the people who have leverage over you. Money in the bank quietly turns into confidence and choices in real life. Imagine 2 people with the exact same awful boss. The one with no savings has to smile and take it because missing even one paycheck would sink them. The one with 20,000 behind them can look that boss in the eye, knowing they could walk out tomorrow and be completely fine for months. Same job, same boss, but a totally different power balance, and it's the buffer that creates it. The fourth thing that changes is that your money finally starts working for you. Up until now, every dollar in your account has just been sitting there. But $20,000 invested in a growth fund, earning around 7% a year, quietly generates roughly $1,400 without you lifting a finger. And here's the New Zealand advantage we keep coming back to. With no general capital gains tax, that growth is largely tax-free. For the first time in your life, money is earning alongside you instead of only ever coming from you. It's a small trickle at first, but it's the very beginning of the snowball, and that changes everything about how you see money. If this is landing for you, take a second and hit the like button. It genuinely helps more Kiwis find the channel. The fifth thing that changes might be the most important of all: momentum. Here's a truth almost nobody tells you. The first $20,000 is the hardest money you will ever save. And it's hard for a specific reason. At the start, it is entirely on you. Compounding hasn't kicked in yet. Returns are tiny, so every dollar has to be clawed out of your own income through pure discipline. It feels like pushing a boulder uphill. But once you cross 20,000, three things quietly start working in your favor all at once. Your saving habit is now built and automatic. Your spending is already trimmed down to size. And your investment returns finally start chipping in alongside you. The result is that the second 20,000 comes noticeably faster than the first, and the third faster again. Picture it like a fire that's finally caught. At the start, you're kneeling in the cold, coaxing a single spark with everything you've got. But once it's burning, it starts throwing off its own heat and lighting the next log for you. Your returns start doing part of the saving that you used to do entirely alone. This is the tipping point, the exact moment savings stops feeling like a punishment and starts rolling downhill on its own. And the sixth thing that changes is quieter, but it runs deep: your identity. Before 20,000, somewhere in the back of your mind, you see yourself as someone who's broke, someone who's bad with money. The moment you cross that line, you start to see yourself differently, as a saver, as an investor, as someone who is genuinely building something. And that shift changes every financial decision you make from then on. Suddenly, that 20,000 isn't just a safety net, it's a seed. In New Zealand, it might become the beginning of a first home deposit, boosted by your Kiwi saver and a first home loan. Or it might be the first real block of an investment portfolio that carries you to retirement. 20,000 is where you stop surviving and start building. So how do you actually get there when the first stretch is the hardest? The principles are simple, even if the doing takes grit. Automate it. Set up a payment that whisks money into savings the day you're paid, before you can spend it, out of sight and out of mind. Bank every pay rise and every tax refund instead of letting your lifestyle swell to swallow them. One study found that simply committing future pay rises to savings lifted people's saving rate from 3.5% all the way to over 13%. And attack your biggest recurring costs, not the small treats, because that's where the real money hides. One more trick that works surprisingly well: move your savings somewhere slightly annoying to reach. A separate account at a different bank with no linked card, so that raiding it takes real effort and impulse never gets a look in. And if all you can spare right now is $20 a week, start with $20 a week. The exact amount matters far less than the habit, because once the habit exists, you increase it every time your income does. It's boring, it's unglamorous, and it absolutely works. So let's bring it home. $20,000 is not a huge amount of money in the grand scheme of a whole life. But it is the threshold where everything changes. It's where stress turns into security, where desperate borrowing turns into calm choices, where you stop working only for money and money finally starts working for you. It's where the boulder stops going uphill and starts rolling down. Most New Zealanders, sadly, never cross that line.
But if you're on your way there right now, I want you to hear this clearly. Keep going, because the first 20,000 is the hardest you'll ever save, and it is also, by far, the one that changes everything. If this gave you a bit of motivation today, do me a favor and hit like, subscribe if you're not already, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.